Okay. So for today's class, right? Can you guys see the screen? Yeah, I believe you guys can still see the screen. So for today's class, we'll be discussing, we'll be looking at, we'll be discussing the class based on software Guru 99 website. So Guru 99 is a free online platform that help people to learn, self-develop, and study on their own. While when we come to like my own class, we kind of like put in perspective into what you don't understand. So now, we've talked about the fundamental of software testing. Under the fundamental, you'll talk about the definition of software testing, career pathway. Okay, we'll talk about salaries and all those stuff, but you don't need that now. You need to have the knowledge. The software principles, all right? Learn with examples. This is where we explain all the software types of software and the principle of software testing. We've not talked about V-model as the methodology of testing and software development lifecycle. So software development lifecycle, if you remember during the introduction, I explained what software development lifecycle is all about. This is what we talk about from the generation of the idea to the coding phase, to the testing phase, and then to the exit criteria, which is more or less like when we finish the testing. So if you go down to types of testing, we have different types of testing. We have the manual testing, which is this one. And we'll have another aspect of which is called automation testing. If you go further, you have what's called unit testing, okay, integration testing. We've talked about all these in our previous classes. We haven't taught you about what system testing is all about, and sanity testing, smoke testing. These are all types of testing. Regression testing, non-functional testing. These are all different types of testing. Then we'll have test cases and test case development. So we'll have test documentation. What are the documentation you require during your testing? What are test scenarios? How to write test cases? What is the test analysis? What is required or requirement for traceability? Okay, test basis. I will explain that on a long run. We'll have test data generation, and there are some examples from this. So what am I showing you this website for? I'm showing you this website so that you as an individual at your own time can go and study on your own. You get what I mean? This page, it doesn't give you an in-depth explanation, but it breaks every section down. So the handbook I gave to you earlier on in the first class will guide you through this on the areas you need to learn. So today, I'm going to start with, I've done principle of testing. Let me talk about V-model for you. So, like V-model is highly disciplined software development lifecycle model, which has a testing phase parallel to each development phase. The V-model is an extension of the Waterfall Model, wherein software development and testing is executed in sequential way. It is also known as the validation or verification model. So how does it work? Requirement analysis. If you go to what is requirement analysis, in your requirement analysis, this is how the model goes. So it goes from requirement analysis. So the requirement is what the person wants. You understand? The company, this is what they want for you to develop for them. High level design. This is where
no class.
Come again? Can somebody mute? So yes, the name of the website is on here. The way I'm teaching from is called Guru99, guru99.com. You can see that here, guru99.com. So Requirement analysis. This is where the business analyst discusses with the project owner and they write out what is needed. The design level is where the first design is made. Low-level design is where we break it down into this is how we want it to look like, and the coding is where the code is written, okay? Now, what does V-model say? V-model says during the time that they are writing requirement analysis, system testing should be carried on. You understand? So for the person to this, so why they are saying requirement analysis, the testers should be looking at how are we going to test this software? Who's not muted? Willie. Willie, please, can you mute? Pardon me. So during the requirement testing, you remember we said early testing, right? System testing should be carried out at the same time where requirement analysis is being carried on. Let there be system testing being carried out alongside. High-level design, integration testing should be think about. You should be thinking about integration level.
Really, please mute yourself. Who is not mute?
My girls doing live.
Okay. Okay. So on the high-level design, integration testing will be thought about and carried out. Low-level design, unit testing, we're talking about unit testing to be carried out. If you've read about the 40 types of testing that I told you to check about, you would notice what a unit testing is all about. The coding. So if you look at it, it's kind of like parallel. At the time you are doing requirement gathering, requirement analysis, you are thinking about how we're going to test it on the system. When they're saying high-level design is when they say, okay, you're going to go to my website, you're going to buy this product is going to, you're going to put this product in the basket, you have to pay. You're talking about, okay, how we're going to integrate the payment gateway and the design. Low-level design, we're talking about unit testing. So, like, let's say unit testing is the breakdown of all the testing into smaller bits. Let's say, for instance, now, you want to test the basket, the functionality of the basket. So when you add things into a basket, do they add up? You understand? When you click remove products, does it remove from the basket? Those are unit testing. Then they write the code. So therefore, when they are doing requirement analysis here, you're already thinking about how you are going to test it in the system. The question you'll be asking is, okay, how is this supposed to perform? How am I supposed to notice if there is a difference in here? Okay, what is the requirement? How is it going to supposed to work with the system? High-level design, how is it the integration? What are the parts? You'll be thinking about what parts. Let's say your website now, you created a website, but you want people to register. Now, when people register, where does the information they register store? Are they going to store on Google Cloud? Or are they going to store on Microsoft Cloud? Are they going to store on Excel? You get what I mean? So that integration you'll be thinking about. Let's go down and look at a more in-depth look. Now, there is a word I haven't introduced to you. I've mentioned it a few times, but I don't know if you can recall it. This is it. It's called software SDLC, Software Development Life Cycle. Okay, these are the terms that you need to know. Software Development Life Cycle. This is the sequence of activities carried out by developers to design and develop high-quality software. This is the series. It's like, let's say, what is the process of making a dress? It starts from buying the material of your choice, which is the requirement. Do you want, what's it called? You want, what's it called? How do we put it now? Do you want, is it buba style you want to sew, or is it suit style, or is it funnel leg? You understand? So you say, okay, you want a funnel leg. So now we know what your requirement is, but you want your funnel leg in Ankara. So we know that we need Ankara, you know? So the process, software development life cycle, it means what is the whole process of doing this? So let's use sewing, for instance. Software development talks about, okay, this person wants a 3/4 shirt made in Ankara. It's told you what the requirement is. Now, the next step again you have to think about is, okay, do you think about color? Okay, let's say I want yellow 3/4 trouser made with Ankara. Okay, you buy that. The next thing, you do the measurement of the cloth. The next thing is you cut out the bits that you want to sew. The next thing is you sew it. The next thing is the customer tries it on. The next one is you adjust those areas that are not fitted as the customer wants it, before you give the customer finally, before you test it again and see the customer says, okay, I'm happy with this product. Everything is intact how I like it. It looks very beautiful on me. Then you give it back to the customer. That is the software. In software development, in sewing, that's the dress life cycle. In software development, we're talking about all these processes. You get what I mean? All this process to get to this particular end, which is where the cloth is, the software is developed. So software development life cycle, whenever you are told about it, all you should just think about is when they say the software development life cycle, you're talking about from the beginning of the software, the customer coming, the idea of what they want, the requirement gathering, the test carried out, the coding, the test carried out, and the approval and the returning to the customer. That is software development life cycle. The next one is, if you look there, we have SDLC, software development life cycle, and we also have STLC, and this is software testing life cycle. So let's think about it as, let's use the same example of clothing life cycle, right? We have from the time that the customer told you that this is what they want to when you deliver the cloth to the customer. Now, you now have sewing life cycle or designing life cycle. This is where, this is the big picture, is the software life cycle, the clothing life cycle of the customer from the time that the customer told you, I want Ankara 3/4, red, blue, I want it sewed in this style. You have that. Now you now have sewing life cycle. In that sewing life cycle, you are talking about measuring, cutting out the design, putting the pockets, you understand? Making sure that the shoulder pad is up, you know, what height is the shoulder pad going to be, and what kind of button you're going to use. So it's kind of like a smaller version of the big one. Okay, so software testing lifecycle consists of a series of activities carried out by testers methodologically to test your software. So now, when they've given you this software to develop, for instance, we know what the customer wants because it's in the software development lifecycle. Then in the testing lifecycle, how are we going to test it? What are the things we need to test? These things could be, how long am I going to test the home page for instance? How long am I going to test the login page for, the time? How long am I going to test the checkout for? Okay, what test areas am I going to check? Am I going to check positive testing? So let's say we put the right username and the right password. Are we going to test if we put the right username and the right password? If we're going to log in, positive testing. We're going to put the wrong username and the right password if it's going to let us in. You understand? That's a negative testing. You're going to test if I put the wrong, do I get an error message when I do put the wrong details in? You understand? So you carry out, what I'm trying to explain to you is, if we will have the big picture, we now have another smaller picture of what software testing lifecycle would be. So this would be from the entry criteria to the exit criteria. When do we know that this software is bug-free? How long can we say, okay, we've tested this thing and we are satisfied with how much we've tested it and we think it's okay, this software can go live. So we'll have the software testing life cycle. It consists of a series of activities carried out by testers methodologically to test your software. Now we've come back to the same place we started from, V-model. This is the V-model. Waterfall model. We said, if you look at here, we said it is the V-model is an extension of the waterfall model. V-model is an extension of what? The waterfall model. What is the waterfall model? Waterfall model is a sequential model divided into different phases of software development activity. E.g., each stage is designed for performing the specific activity. Testing phase in waterfall model starts only after implementation of the system is done. Okay? Testing phases in waterfall model starts only after implementation of the system is done. So if you look at here, remember, implementation of the system, which means after requirement analysis is developed, then it moves to system testing, then you test it there. Before it now goes to design, then you test it here. Before it goes here, you test it here and the code. Okay, if you understand it, there are videos here you can come back and watch at your own leisure. In comparison, what does it actually mean? I'm not going to play all this video. I'm going to talk you through at your own time. Come back to this website and look it. Can you please, Sammy, populate this link for me on the group so that others can have it?
Okay, done. I'll do that.
Okay, thank you very much. So you'll come back here and you read more on V-model, okay? So it's self-explanatory, and I want you guys to take your time to look at the V-model on your own. So phases of software development, right? And the activities to be performed at each stage. He said, requirement gathering stage, gather as much information as possible about the detail and specification of the desired software from the client. This is nothing but the requirement gathering stage, okay? You see, requirement gathering, yeah? So, you know, when I explain what requirement gathering is all about, this is where I explained, I said the guy wants he wants a yellow page. He wants the login to be on the left-hand side of the screen, not the right-hand side. He wants the what's it called? The page to have login, password reminder, and all those things. This, you do it on the requirement stage. As a software tester, your job would be gather as much information as possible about the details and specification of the desired software from the client. This is nothing but the requirement stage, requirements gathering stage. You understand? You need to have information so that you are able to test this software. Remember, the developer will develop the software like, you know, they think once they develop it, it's perfect. You get what I mean? I'll give you an example very soon. I'm looking for, there's a picture I want to show you. And this is the methodology that goes around between the software testers and the developers. Okay, so at the time of the development, you are looking at the questions you need to know. Okay, what information do I need to have to carry out this testing? You need to be asking, okay, what if this happens? Does it matter? You know, okay, let's say for instance now, if I was to put the wrong username and password to this login, what kind of information does the computer have to tell? Does it say username invalid? Does it say try again? Does it tell me the username is different, the password is different? What information? What, you understand? Is somebody getting me? The question is, what kind of question is the system going to throw? What kind of error is the system going to throw that will make me know that this is wrong? You ask those kind of questions. 1 second. I'm looking for a post that I want to show you. Has anybody seen this post before? What is it? What is it? What is it? It's not letting me share. Okay, I think it's come up. Okay. It's not letting me share. It has my personal information. It's not letting me share. And I wanted to share it. Okay. Let me see. No, it's not letting me share. But let's leave that. I will find a way to share the link. And you guys can watch and have fun with it, because so require at this stage of gathering, you're just gathering information. The design stage. This design stage is where the programmer now is designing. Your question would be, how are we testing it? How is it going to be designed? Is it going to be designed in Java language, PHP, .NET, database like Oracle, MySQL? Which would we be suited for this sub-project? What would be suited for this project? Also, some high-level functional and architectural things. Some of them, you don't need them, but if depend on what they're designing, and you can ask questions to that effect. And I'll go back again and explain. You need to know the language that this, remember, this side, design stage, you people have to understand as a tester. If you can't test something in Java, you're going to be useless in that team. If it's designed in .NET and you can't test in .NET, you're going to be useless. If the one you people are designing has to do with MySQL, or whichever database they decide to use, maybe Oracle or MySQL, and you don't have the knowledge of that, you're going to be, screwed. So you need to know what language is going to be designed in the software, what's the build stage. After the design stage, it's the build stage. This is something about actual code, actually the code, the software. This is not done by you, but this is done by the developer who designs the software. Now, let me go back and explain. In software development lifecycle, think about it. This is what it says. The first stage is the requirement gathering. The second stage is the design stage. The third stage is the building stage. The fourth stage, this is where your job is next, your testing stage. Deployment stage is also called the staging stage. Okay. Then maintenance is where we have what is called regression. And I'll go back and I'll bring it down again. So these are the phases in the software development lifecycle. The software development lifecycle starts from the requirement gathering stage. This is where the business analysts discuss with the project with the owner of the project, and they decide this is what they want. And you all come to the meeting and discuss, and in that process, you ask some questions to know how you're going to carry out your test. In the design stage, this is where you and the developers and everybody decide how it's going to look, how it's going to be. Then you'll be, as a tester, you'll be asking questions of what if, how can, and why. You know, what are we going to test for? How are we going to test it? What language is it designed? Is it going to be designed in? So that you can start getting yourself prepared. You get what I mean? Okay? Build stage. This is where the developer sits down now to build the software that you guys gather the requirement for. Okay, let me break it down. Let's so you understand. I want you to cook me what soup is this now? Assorted meat, assorted pepper soup. Okay, I want to eat assorted pepper soup. As a software tester, right? Your job now at this time when I'm saying, oh, the business owner, I am the business owner, and I'm telling you, the chef, you the cook, what I want to eat. I want to eat assorted pepper soup. In that time, the next thing is requirement gathering. When I say assorted, I want to eat assorted pepper soup. What meat should be involved? Do I want dog meat, or do I want cow meat, or do I want pussycat meat, or do I want elephant ear, or do I want monkey axe? You understand? So the requirement gathering is where you now ask, okay, how do you want it assorted? Do you want fish, turkey, bonbon? You understand? That's the stage, is the requirement gathering stage. At this point, you are asking information to know what will be needed for the pepper soup to be presented perfectly. Design stage. I will be asking you, do you like your meat to be big, or do you want them to be small? Do you like them soft, or do you like them mid-hard, or do you like them a little bit hard? Do you like it soft? Do you like it peppery, or you like it mild? You understand? You can do that on this place, on the design. Requirement gathering, you ask that question. On the design phase, you are now saying, okay, how do you like it to be served to you? Do you want the meat, assorted meat, dry in a plate, and the soup, you know, the liquid that you're going to lick, in another plate? Or you like it together? Okay? Would you like it with bread, to be eaten with bread, or you like it to be eaten with yam? You understand? Complementaries. You are asking this question at the design, requirement gathering / design phase. You understand? Now, you're getting all this knowledge. Now, you build stage. This is like the stage where you cook it, where you are now cooking all the assorted, if you get what I mean. I understand now. This is where you now ask, how are you going to present it? Okay? How are you going to present the choppings? The build stage is where you are cooking it now. So he's told you he wants a combination of all these meats. He's told you, I like my meat. I like to eat mine is the meat is dry in a plate, the soup in another plate, and I have bread to eat it. That's the design stage. The build stage is where you now, the chef, have settled down and cooking it. This guy like it this way, like it that way, like it to be well cooked so that it's soft to eat. He likes it with bread. He likes it like this. You are building it. You are cooking it. Now, test stage. Test stage is Aboki man. When you go to a Aboki shop and he wants to give you suya, you say, can I have tasting? They will cut a little bit for you and they will give you, you know, you dip it and you eat it, isn't it? And when you say, Aboki, I like it to be well cooked, or it's not cooked to the level I want it. I want you to cook it more. Or you can say, I want more pepper when you finish. So as a tester, you now go back to requirement gathering and the design stage. What does this customer say he wants? It is not what the builder has built. It's not what the guest person in the kitchen has cooked. If you are in a restaurant now, let's put it now, the person has told you what they want. Okay, they brought the order to the kitchen. They've cooked it now. Before they will go and give it to the customer to eat, there is somebody that has to test it to make sure, look, the salt is okay, the pepper is okay, the meat is well done. That is where your job is as a tester. Your testing job is to make sure that the requirement, what the customer say they want, is what the developer, which is the person in the kitchen, has cooked. So if you look at what they said here, he said, next, you test the software to verify that it is built as per the specification, which is also the requirement given by the client or the customer. There are stages in this test stage, we have what is called, let me use the word maybe commonly known to people as sandbox stage. A sandbox, like a sand, is like a temporary page, okay? That page, you just look at, you are just looking at the software, you're testing everything on that place. No other person outside your team is seeing what you guys are doing. Nobody outside your team is saying what you guys are doing. It is just only me now, I'm testing what this software. Nobody, no customer outside is seeing it. It's not deployed at that stage. Now, when I have finished carrying out these tests, and I say, okay, I agree, this thing has met what the customer is requirement, which is the specification or the requirement, I will pass it. I'll say, okay, pass. It will now pass, then it will go to deployment stage. Deployment stage is now where they take it and paste it to the WW or the app or the page where every other person can see it. Okay, now when you deploy it online, the software tester goes the next stage as maintenance stage. This maintenance stage is like, okay, we've put this thing online, we've tested it in the sandbox, it worked, okay, no problem. Everything that we tested worked. Is now online. We will go back online now, like every other customer, 740 billion people around the world is doing. You go back to that app from outside and test it. Remember, when you were doing the testing stage, it was just you and the employees that are doing it. People on the project are testing, nobody outside. Now it's gone online to a different platform, which is the stage, the real life stage, which under deployment is where you put that there. The maintenance is where you go there and check that everything is okay. And once everything is okay, we now come to a close of that what? Testing. But then this stage is also called regression testing. Regression means you're testing it to see that nothing added again is bringing out fault. Because remember, after you test this page, it doesn't stop there now. You will go to the next project and you are working. So after you finish that, you go back again to look at it. Thank you, Sam. You go back again to look at it to make sure that it's all working. Though anything that has an advantage has what? A disadvantage. Problems with the V-model, problems with this model of testing. These are kind of the questions that you'll be asked during the interview. Okay, this your idea of testing. It sounds okay. What are the kind of problems that can come around from this method? Problem with waterfall model. As you may observe, the testing in the model starts only after implementation is done. After deployment is what? Done. Okay. But if you're working in the large projects where the system are complex, it's easy to miss out the key details in the requirement phase itself. In such cases, an entirely wrong product will be delivered to the client, and you might have to start afresh with the project. Or if you manage to note the requirement correctly, but make serious mistake in design, the architecture of your software will have to redesign the entire software to correct the error. So the waterfall model is a model where the design is done. After the design is done, the build is done before you carry out the testing. So it says, if there is a mistake when there is a building already, it's going to draw you all back. It's going to give you a different software. So what it's trying to say is, assessment of thousands of projects have shown that defects introduced during requirement and design makes up close to half of the total number of defects. You can read this one more and understand what is the solution to the waterfall model. You see all these ones, it talks about the costs, because the earlier in life cycle a defect is detected, the cheaper it is to fix. As they say, it's teaching time saves now. Solution. To address this concern, the V-model of testing was developed where every phase in the development life cycle, there is a corresponding phase. Do you understand? Waterfall model goes like this. V-model goes like this. Can we understand the difference now? Waterfall model says gather information, okay? Gather information, design it, build it, test it, deploy it, and maintain. But V-model says, during the requirement gathering, let there be equivalent test, system testing being carried out. High-level design, let there be integration carried out. Low-level design, let unit testing be carried out at the same time. So once you code, so it doesn't come from up, it comes from under. Once you code, low-level design, unit testing to complement it. High-level design, integration testing to complement it. Requirement analysis, system testing. So it's kind of like V starting from under. The left side of the V-model software development lifecycle, the right side is the software testing lifecycle. Okay, the entire figure looks like a V. Hence, the name came from V-model. So you look at this one more. In conclusion, there are numerous development lifecycle models. Okay, development model selected for a project depends on the aim and the goal of the project. Remember, your company can decide we want a waterfall model because of the nature of the project, or they can decide to go for a V model depending on the scope of the project. Testing is not a standalone activity, and it has to adapt the development model chosen by the project. In many models, testing should be performed at all levels, i.e., right from requirement until maintenance. Okay, so if you've done your reading, you see things like static testing, software testing. So we will come to these ones later. Now, no, I'm done. So software testing lifecycle phases, entry and exit criteria. I'm going to run this one. I've explained it before. I don't have to speak much for it. But before I explain software development lifecycle, and this is software testing lifecycle. Software testing is a sequence of specific activities conducted during the testing process to ensure software quality goals are met. Software testing lifecycle includes both verification and validation activities. If you remember when I was explaining for you what software testing is all about, we talk about validation and verification. Contrary to popular belief, software testing is not just a single isolated activity, i.e. testing. It consists of a series of activities carried out methodologically to help certify your software products. Software testing lifecycle stands for STLC. Okay, STLC stands for software testing life cycle. These are the phases. Okay, requirement analysis is the first thing you do. You do test planning. So requirement analysis, this guy told us he likes pepper soup. There is assorted. Okay, he told us we know what the requirement is all about. The test planning. How are we going to carry out, how are we going to cook this pepper soup to give us this? So we're going to say, okay, shaki, bomo, fish, and chicken, they cook at different, they take different time to cook, right? Shaki cooks, Pomo cooks takes longer. This person said he wants it to be very soft. So which means Pomo has to come first. Maybe we'll cook Pomo for 30 minutes or 40 minutes. Before we now add, okay, Pomo will cook for 40 minutes. Shaki will cook for 30 minutes. Goat meat will cook for 20 minutes. Chicken will cook for 15 minutes. Fish will cook for 5 minutes. So you see the test planning, how I've broken it down. So you go say, okay, for that reason, the first thing I'll start cooking first is the pomo. You put the pomo to start cooking. When the pomo cooks for 10 minutes, you know that it's going to take you total of maybe 50 minutes to cook all these things. But all this meat has to enter at different level for that 50 minutes. You start with pomo. Pomo is going to cook for 30 minutes. When you put it on, after 10 minutes, you put the next meat that requires 20 more minutes to cook. So then the pomo is cooking. Pomo is cooked for 20 minutes. At the time this 20 minutes is finished, the pomo must have cooked for 30 minutes. Then you add the shaki. Then you add the next one. You add the, so you plan how you're going to test the software. Where are you going to test first? Which one comes next? How long do I need? How many people are going to test this project? Do I need help? Would I be fine testing it by myself? You do that in your test planning phase. You plan your testing. The next thing is test cases. How am I going to test this software? What can I test? Which one am I going to test? Am I going to say, okay, let me test the login page first? Or should I test the customer account phase? What if, oh, you have not even created the account? Maybe you have to start with, okay, you have to create the account first. Then, okay, we'll have to test creating of account first before we now test the account itself, like customer already log in. They will not say customer tries to buy something. They will not test buying before we not test delivery. You understand how the delivery will work? What is the integrations? You don't you under the software testing lifecycle, you break it down into smaller chunks. What you need to do. You requirement gathering, the test planning, you plan how you're going to carry it out. You write test cases. I will teach you test cases in one class. Test environment, where are you going to test it? Let's say simple things like environment could be, is it going to be tested on the phone? Are you testing on the app? On the computer window? Are you testing on Microsoft? Sorry, are you testing on Chrome? Are you testing on Microsoft Chrome, Opera? Are you testing on Windows? Or are you testing on iOS, Apple? Or are you testing on phones? Are you testing on tablets? The environment, when you say environment, is telling you where are you going to carry out this test? Okay, are you going to test it on a staging environment? The staging environment, remember I explained it to you, is where you and only your work colleague will see it. No person from external sees it. Just you people working on the project will see it. Then you have test execution. Test execution is where you now carry out this test to see, does it pass or does it fail? Okay, that's the test execution. Test closure. When do we say we finish testing this software now? Because remember, you can't say a software testing. You can't say, oh, I finished testing it, there is no bug on this software again. There is no single bug on it. No, it's impossible. So you have to test it to that level where we say, okay, we've gotten 75% or 80% and say we are happy with the level of the software, with the progress we've made on this software, and we are sure, there's a good chance that this software can, go to the market. So test closure, you decide when is going to be enough for testing. because you can't completely say you finish testing. It's impossible. Testing carries on. For each of these states has its a definite entry and exit criteria, activities and deliverable associated with them. So you will come here. What is entry and exit criteria in software development lifecycle? Entry criteria gives the prerequisites, items that must be completed before testing can begin. Entry criteria. What are the entry criteria? Let's say, for instance, if I'm asked you, I want you to test TikTok on an Android phone. So the prerequisite will be what? Android phone. You understand? And the app you're testing, TikTok. So entry criteria, before you entry criteria, what is the first thing that you have to do? You understand? What are those must do? Are your entry criteria? What are the most things that you have? Exit criteria. These are the level that must be concluded before you say, okay, we've achieved this one. Now we can say we've completed this testing. We've concluded this. If I say, okay, let's use example of something that we all know, TikTok, what's it called? Daily goal, where you put maybe like 50 roses. So you say, oh, I won't close my life today until I get 50 roses. But if I can't get 50 roses, at least let me get 40 roses, which is like 75% of the roses. You understand? That is your exit criteria. You want to get to this number before you do what? You exit. Okay? That's your exit criteria. So, requirement phase testing. Okay? Also known as requirement analysis. We talked about these. Test planning, I've explained all these. These are the activities within the software testing. Okay? Test tool selection, test effort, estimation, resource planning, determining role and responsibility, training requirements. So deliverables, we'll talk about this in some other time, but these are all just terms that are used. Test case development, we've talked about test case development. Test environment, we talked about using the environment, pardon me, sorry. The environment that we're going to carry out this test is the test on, okay? Test execution phases, this is where you carry out the tests. And test closure, this is where we decide, have we met it? Did we meet the requirements? Is it closing? So this is an example of entry and exit criteria. Entry criteria, requirements, okay. Under the software development license, these are the requirements, the documents, this is what they want. Entry criteria, requirement documents available, both functional and non-functional. Acceptance criteria are defined. Application architecture documents are available. Okay, everything that we need to carry out this testing will be made available. Activities, these are the jobs that you're going to carry out. Exit criteria, signed off by your team. Test automation, I won't talk about test automation for now, because that on its own is a big topic. Is another type of testing. For more, when you understand manual testing, you can easily go into automation. So RTM, which could also be traceability metrics, right? This is like where you put all the tests that you've carried out, is a means of measurement to check how much success you guys have done compared to where you guys started from. So this is how you just, test planning, all these things are all in the documents. Some job will provide you all these documents and you know what you're carrying out as you just use it along the line. Let me see. We've done manual testing. You can come back here, goal of manual testing. You can come back here and read for yourself, okay? We'll talk about black box testing, white box unit testing, system testing, integration testing. They are all here. how to perform manual testing, you can come here and read, okay? There is no, anyone can do testing, okay? I say that every day, but it doesn't mean that you don't require what? There are skills that are still required, you know? You need to be able to read and write, you know what I mean? Okay, so based on here that we've gotten to today, all right? Based on this one for today, I'm going to stop this recording and don't want to get you guys thinking too much. And we can continue again from here in our next class on Wednesday. Let me, oh, sorry guys, sorry guys, 1 second.